of all, what's the latest on Jair Bolsonaro himself?
This morning, Friday morning in Brazil, Bolsonaro was transferred to a hospital in Sao Paulo from the city where he was stabbed yesterday. And he is in stable condition. It's still grave. His small intestine was punctured 3 times, and he had to have an emergency, very long surgery on Thursday. So he'll be in the hospital for, could be a week, could be more. And what this means is he won't be participating in things like interviews on primetime TV, in presidential debates. And a lot of analysts here say that actually bodes well for him because he's a very bombastic figure who often says things that get him in trouble when he is faced with an interviewer, for example. The report mentioned that he's being tried for outrageous comments he's made in the past. He's been tried for comments he's made about raping women, about praise of the military dictatorship here in Brazil. So he really is this far-right figure who may benefit from being less pressed by interviewers and may also benefit from a sort of a martyr effect of what happened yesterday in Brazil. So a lot of analysts are saying this probably bodes well for him politically.
Yeah, and it's certainly what we heard in that report from his son. At this point in time, we're exactly 1 month away from Election Day, and it's chaos.
It is. Today is Brazilian Independence Day, which is always marked by big military parades. And those parades are the symbol of everything that Bolsonaro stands for. So the power of the army, the role of the army in Brazilian history, and no sort of riots or outbreaks have occurred at the parade so far. They've been very calm and solemn. And really the political mood across the country today has been calm and solemn. Political opponents of Bolsonaro's in the campaign have pronounced that this is an event where we need to be careful. We need to condemn acts of hate and violence. And so Brazilian politics writ large is taking this very seriously. The people who have actually made the most inflammatory comments have been Bolsonaro's own party. The president of his party, after the attacks, said, quote, "Now this is war." And his his vice president also said about the knife attack that the professionals in violence are us, referring to their presidential ticket. So he is a figure who's known for inciting high tempers among Brazilians, and no sort of social unrest has broken out in the wake of this, but everyone's on very tense watch for what's going to unfold over the next few days.
Yeah. Do we know any more about that suspect? Again, we said that authorities are looking into whether or not he had a history of psychiatric problems.
Mm-hmm. His social media accounts, so his Facebook, included a lot of posts about politics, criticizing political figures, criticizing Bolsonaro, and criticizing some other figures on Brazil's right. And they included sort of rambling comments that didn't make a ton of sense sometimes, referring a lot to masonry, sort of conspiracy theory type comments. And so that's why investigators are considering the possibility that he was mentally unstable. A niece of his was interviewed by local media and said that in the past few years, he had been bouncing around from job to job, not be seen by the family very much, would sort of shut himself in his room. And so he doesn't appear to be somebody who is like a mainstream political operative. He was affiliated with a small left-wing party for a while. He unaffiliated in 2014, but he said to police also, when he was taken into custody, he was acting on God's command. So, a bit of a confusing circumstances, but they point to individual motivations rather than sort of an organized, political opponent of his sending this figure.
Hey, Catherine, before we let you go, take out your crystal ball. Next Monday, we're expecting the front runner, who's Lula, who's in jail for a corruption conviction, to hand the mantle to his running mate, Fernando Haddad. Could that shift attention and shift momentum?
It will briefly shift attention to Lula and his legal drama. And Haddad is somebody with much lower name recognition than Lula. So this is the handoff that Lula has been dreading, that his party has been trying to push forward as much as possible because Haddad is not as popular as Lula. The events that happened to Bolsonaro will have taken up more of the news bandwidth at that time. So definitely national attention will be on that pass-off, will be on how Lula is framing Haddad as his successor. But, this looks like it's one more point against the Lula-Haddad ticket, in as much as people's attention are on other things and they don't know who Haddad is, and Haddad will have even less public attention to make the argument for himself.